Well, hello and welcome to the Lending Podcast. We're excited for this episode. We got JB, Guru of Mortgage. I am Jeff Jones. We're here in Austin, Texas to give you good information, make good decisions. You know, we're loan officers by trade, but we love providing just an overview of what we're hearing in the market, what our clients are experiencing that are borrowing money to buy their dream homes. And what are we talking about today?
Well, the question we're getting right now from a lot of our clients is it the right time? We've been talking about this for months, let's be honest, years.
Years.
Is it the right time to buy a house?
Is it always the right time?
And I'd say it's different, certainly for everybody, but we'd love to have that conversation. We'd love to figure out what your goals are so we can put a plan together. And so specifically, the question we had this week was about, first of all, how much down do you need for a house, right? So a common misconception is you got to wait to save the money for the down payment. And we're going to put an end to that myth today.
Right.
Because there are zero down loans, right, such as VA loans or USDA loans where you do not need a down payment. There are also low down payment options for first-time buyers. There's also low down payment options for not first-time buyers, right? 3% down or 3.5% down. And so specifically, what we're going to cover today is one option for obtaining a down payment. And we're really going to debate whether it's the right decision to pull a loan from a 401k to use that as a down payment to buy a house. And we're going to run through some numbers and see what the numbers say.
Yeah, and this makes people nervous.
Very nervous.
So if you're a financial advisor out there and you hear a loan officer say, pull money out of your 401k to buy a home, it's like nails on a chalkboard. But hear us out, because if you are a financial advisor, we want you to listen to this podcast. What we love to do is run real life scenarios for people. But obviously, on a podcast like this, we're going to do some general numbers.
That's right.
Just so that people understand how we do the math, why it makes sense, because we're going to show that it actually does make sense, to increase your net worth, to get you into that dream home, to get all kinds of benefits of home ownership that are just residual from owning your home instead of renting. And the cost of pulling money out of the 401k is minimal compared to the net gains financially you get from owning the house.
That's right. And we're just going to scratch the surface here. And so we love having these conversations. It is different really for every single one of our clients that walks in the door. There are general guidelines that we follow. There's general investing strategies that we follow for sure. At the end of the day, though, your situation's unique, and that's why you need a loan professional, a mortgage professional to discuss it.
Yeah, and if you are a loan specialist, a loan officer out there, and you've always been told like it's taboo to touch somebody's 401k or encourage them to, you are welcome for this knowledge. Right. So we are gifting this to you for free. And feel free to, we are available people. So you can call, find us online, find our, we work currently for, Benchmark Mortgage, they're an amazing organization. So our websites are available. They're on our contact us is what I'm trying to get to. Yes. Give us a call, send us an email, go, give me this scenario. And we'll do it. We'll do it.
So let's kind of run through scenarios. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is you could argue that I'm a little bit of a hypocrite with what I'm about to say about pulling money out of a 401k, because in my office, I have a wealth building matrix. And one of the components of building wealth is save 10 to 20% of what you make and don't touch it. Okay, now we're going to talk about touching that money and actually pulling out a loan from a 401k. So that's talking out of both sides of my mouth. But again, it's situational, and we have to look at the entire picture and what it looks like. And so as Jeff and I were talking this morning about this concept, because this very question came up this week, right, from a client, hey, I have access to a 401k. Should I pull a loan from the 401k? And so we've obviously had this discussion over the last 2 decades in doing loans. And again, it's different for everybody. But here's a real life example that I think fits a lot of our potential buyer profiles right now that are uncertain about buying a house. Perhaps you're a first-time buyer, and kind of in that, there's an article that came out yesterday that 75% of the homes for sale in America are unattainable and unaffordable right now based on the median income levels of our country. That is a stat that's elevated certainly from 2019 to 2025. Here we are, the spring of 2025. So this is a strategy, possible strategy, that you can entertain, and we can run numbers to see if it would work. So let's dive into that.
Yeah. So if you're paycheck to paycheck and it's really hard for you to save up that lump sum in your checking or savings, but you are able to save it into your 401k, this is probably close to your scenario.
That's right.
If you're a first-time home buyer. And I'm going to do a spoiler alert. The financial growth of a house is more than the financial growth of a 401k. And we're going to show why.
We're
Tell
going
us
to show
why.
how. Yeah. So one of the concepts here that we're going to talk about, and the home appreciation has so much to do with the house appreciation over the longevity of your ownership. But I also want to take a half a step back and talk about the two main ways that we build wealth in this country. Okay. The two main ways to build wealth is the stock market and real estate. Okay. Stock market.
Just marrying a rich person?
Right. Well, that's the third option, maybe.
Thanks, babe.
It also could be inventing something, right? Patenting something. It could also be winning the lottery. It could also be inheriting the money or maybe buying it. So yes, there are some other ways to acquire wealth.
Sure.
We're talking about the tortoise and the hare here. We're talking about the tortoise, the long term. How do we build wealth over time? And slow is not necessarily fun. It's not exciting. We want it tomorrow. We understand that delayed gratification it doesn't sit well with folks. Like I'll save when I have the money to save. And the truth of the matter is that day may never come if you don't start today. So you really have to start putting something out of your check. I don't care if it's $10 or $50, but start putting that money away in that 401k. So if you're starting out right now and your 401k is zero, get that first check in there. Get that first $100 in there. Get that first $200, and let's watch it grow. If you're watching this episode, listening to this, and you have a little nest egg, 10, 15, 20,000, 30,000. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said, well, I don't have much in my retirement. I only have 19,000. I said, that's a fantastic start. Like you won't ever get to 20,000 if you don't have $100, right, saved. So it's really important to compound. So with that said, we've got this compounded 401k growth, and you log into your 401k today and you say, wow, I've got 30,000 in there, or maybe it's 300,000. That'd be amazing. But let's say it's 20 to 30 grand. Can you access that first and foremost to buy a home? And the answer for most of the time is yes. Depends on your financial institution and your employer, but typically yes, you can, can get to that.
It runs unique for every 401k plan. I appreciate that most of them have that mortgage clause.
Yes.
So if it's going to be your primary residence and your home, most of them will let you take a loan out of 50% of the value.
Right.
Right?
So if you have 30,000.
If it's not, it's usually, people will think it's like, oh, I'm going to get hit with some kind of penalty, whether it's 10% or more. Not in these scenarios.
That's right.
And so we're not going to put that scenario in there that you're getting hit on a penalty for pulling out, because the majority of 401ks allow at least 50% to be loaned out without a penalty.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And yeah, and there's no penalty because it is truly a loan, and you will pay back that 401k loan through your paycheck with that employer, right?
Right.
So each month, and you can put it on, I've seen
Which
36,
doesn't hit your debt to income.
Which does not hit your debt to income ratios. I was going to talk about that. If you take out a 401k loan and now you have a payment against the 401k, does that affect your ability to qualify for a mortgage? And the answer is no. We're not going to hit you with that liability on paper because it's your money.
This is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
So yeah, this makes us happy, guys. This is good stuff. This is very good stuff. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, things that don't affect your debt to income ratio are exciting for us.
Yeah, we need a new podcast
because most everything
for that.
does, right? Yeah.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to specifically nail down some numbers. Okay. So what we're talking about here is a $30,000 starting balance, or whatever the starting balance is. In your 401k. And we're gonna borrow 10 grand from yourself. Okay. So this is assuming a $10,000 401k loan.
Cover the closing costs, down payment, whatever you need.
Yeah, over 60 months, you're probably looking at $200 a month payback, right? You are going to pay some interest on that 401k loan, and it varies. So we didn't really factor all that in. It's minuscule compared to the amount that you're borrowing, but you will pay some interest on that money payback.
All right. So $30,000 balance. We're taking 10 of it. You got 20,000 left in your 401k.
That's right. So 20,000 left in your 401k. 10,000 is going to go down. Now the example we use is about $350,000 purchase price. There's a 3% down payment required. That's about $10,500. Okay. So roughly a $350 price for 10,000 down. Okay.
Great.
There's conventional loans, FHA loans. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty of all that, but for the most part, we're going to use that 10,000 to purchase the home, right? To acquire the house. Now you have appreciation happening in two assets.
Okay.
You have your 401k still with a $20,000 balance in there. It's going to appreciate over the next 5 years. And now your home is going to appreciate. The $350k home that you're starting. You've used $10,000 to leverage this purchase. Now you're getting appreciation on the entire $350,000 of the asset. Okay. At the end of 5 years, the $20,000 initial balance of that 401k now is going to be about $39,000. Okay, because you've paid back the $10,000 and you've had a rate of appreciation. We estimated 8%, which is fairly conservative. The S&P's averaged over 9% for 50 years, but let's just use 8%. Okay, so 8% appreciation of your 401k. Stay with me. At the end of 5 years is $39,000 and change. The balance of the 401k, had you not taken out the loan, would be $44,000. Okay, it's about, we'll round up, it's about $5,000.
A little less delta. Than $5,000.
Now remember, you've paid back in the loan right over the course of the 5 years. So now you don't have an outstanding loan on the 401k, but you've been getting the appreciation in the home over the last 5 years. We took a conservative estimate of 3% appreciation. Some years maybe 1, some years maybe 6. We've obviously had some craziness in Central Texas the last decade where it's gone up and back down and up again and all things around. Over time, 2 to 4% appreciation is the stat. So we use 3. Your $350K house in 5 years at 3% appreciation is going to be over $400,000, $405 to be exact. So you've gained now $55,000 in equity on a $10,000 investment. That is 5x. That's 550% return, cash on cash return on investment. That is very difficult to do unless you're playing the penny stock.
So, for people, I love that you throw these things out because it's amazing. We did some whiteboard work to make sure these numbers are right. So what he's saying is validated. But basically, I'm going to average it out year over year.
Yep.
At the 5 year mark, right? Because I've basically cost myself $5,000 of equity gain in my 401k.
That's right.
So let's say over 5 years, let's say it's $1,000 a year cost of lost savings. But I gained how much per year on the house for that $1,000 a year?
$11,000 a year.
11. So simple math. It costs you $1,000 to make $11,000. But you're living in your own home. And there's all these other residual benefits, tax benefits too. So financially speaking, this is a no-brainer in this scenario.
We didn't really even talk about the tax benefits. Those would be gravy. Now, depending on the buyer, if it's an individual, single filing taxpayer borrower, you're probably going to have more tax benefits than a couple, than two people buying the house together just because of the way the IRS code is written. But still, you're getting that appreciation. So all we did, and we didn't even factor in contributing more into the 401k, which of course we're an advocate of. We certainly want to do both, continue to contribute to your 401k, and you're getting the appreciation of your home. Okay, so that's a 5 year window. And then I'll have someone may say, well, what if I need to sell the home in 5 years? Like, what is it going to cost me to sell the house? Well, that's a good question. Typically, your closing cost to sell a home is anywhere from 5 to 7%. Give or take, maybe 6 to 7%. So let's use 7%. Okay. 60 months from now, 5 years, you've seen your appreciation in your home. Your life has changed. Circumstances have changed. You need to move, sell the house, upgrade, downsize, what have you. So you're going to sell the house. At a $405,000 price, you're going to pay about $28,000 to maybe $30,000, let's just round up, in closing costs, okay, to sell that home. So you're going to have a $375,000, $377,000 gross sales, or gross amount. Your loan is going to be paid down, so you're going to owe less than $350,000 because that was the price of the home you put a down payment on. You only probably financed $345,000.
Right.
Now maybe you owe $330,000.
Right.
So there's a cash realization that is going to vary based on your speed of paying on the loan, how much you paid each month. But just looking at the cost,
$25,000.
Yeah, $350K cost and a $375,000 kind of net number after your closing costs, that's a $25,000 cash gain, right? Tax-free, that you could then take and put into the next home. And that, of course, is more than your 401k growth over those times. So, so you've built that maybe net decision of probably 20 to 30,000.
Yeah, and one, because I'm a simpleton, if you think of a large number of $350,000 and it's only appreciating for 3%, which for a lot of people are like, that's too low. Because it's a lot of money, a 3% appreciation is $25,000
yeah.
even after you sell it, or
Right.
10 to 11,000 if you hold it
Right.
per year. Or, well, sorry. Yes, on that one. So, so a $350,000 at 3% appreciation is going to give you more money than $30,000 at 8%.
That's right.
So that's the simple math because of the size of it.
Right.
So what other investment that costs $10,000 can yield that kind of return?
It's very rare.
Very rare.
What investment with low risk? I mean, you might see some higher risk investment.
Yeah.
And we really didn't talk about the net cash that you'd walk away with, because part of your payment each month is going to principal. Part of each payment each month obviously is paying down the balance of the loan versus a rent payment is going to the landlord, and you're not getting an equity increase in that.
And people are like, well, I could make more than that in the stock market. I don't know.
Possibly.
But you have capital gain.
That's right.
You're not going to get capital gain on your primary house.
That's right.
So that's another thing to factor in.
Yeah.
If you're getting hit with 20%
Yeah.
or whatever it might be that you're
So,
on the tax bracket.
devil's advocate. Okay.
Put the horns on.
What if we're going to keep the house for 15 years? Because you could argue, well, and John, you said this in the first 2 minutes of the podcast, save 20% of what you make and don't touch it, right? So what if we did that? What if we didn't touch it, right? And we left it there over the course of the next 15 years and not buy the house versus we buy the house, we get that appreciation, and then the 401k is building too. So we ran that.
Excuse me, I coughed right into the microphone. But I just want to interrupt too on that.
Yeah.
So you never know how life hits. So when we bought our house, it's 6.5 years ago. I don't see us getting out of that house in the next 3 years.
Right.
So, but when we bought it, we swore we're probably going to live in it for 3 to 5.
Okay.
So things happen where you're like, maybe I'll just stay where I am for a while. So even if you think you might not stay there longer, many times you do.
Yeah.
So so I like the 15-year look.
Well, and that's a great, I mean, there's a lot of tangents off of that because buying the home that really fits your needs and looking a little bit into the future of the needs that it may need to fit in 5 to 7 to 10 years, that is a good kind of fallback, strategy, because if when rates come down, you're refinancing, now you're getting a lower payment, so you're paying less on the mortgage. You're still getting the same appreciation in the house. Now you have more disposable income to put into that 401k, to put into that brokerage account. And now again, you're getting the elevated aspect of both asset classes, right? Stocks and real estate, which is super important in how most of us are going to build wealth and become millionaires, right? Through stock market and real estate. So let's run it out for 15 years.
Let's do it.
Okay. So that $350,000 house at a 3% annualized rate of appreciation is now $544,000. $194,000 in growth, okay, over 15 years. Not quite double, although so some real estate in Austin
let's say
doubled.
that with a little more emphasis. You bought it for $350. In 15 years, it's worth $544.
$544.
Let's say 1 year it doesn't appreciate for 3%, appreciates for 4%. Now you're at $550. You basically made $200,000.
$200,000 and a $10,000 investment, which is a 2,000% rate of return.
Okay, I like this.
Over 15 years.
That gives me hope.
It's compounded. It's really like 100% a year. But
so if you're wondering, should I ever buy a home? I hope this convinces you.
Yeah. Now, what would the 401k have been? Okay, so we ran that. Now,
401k in 15 years. Where would it go?
Here's the scenario. Now, let's rewind back to the end of year 5. At the end of year 5 in our 401k, we had paid back that initial loan, and the differential balance-wise was about $5,000. So the original 401k, because you took the loan out and paid it back, it's now just under $40,000. If you hadn't taken the loan, it would have been about $44,000, $45,000. Okay. From that point, 10 years forward, the lower balance 401k is now $85,000, and the higher balance 401k, if you didn't buy the house, is now $95,000.
Yeah, it basically tripled.
It tripled. That's without additional deposit. So
So it's a timestamp of let's just hit where that 30,000 will be in.
That's right.
15 years, and it'll be at 95.
Yeah.
And
so it costs.
that's an amazing
It costs us
investment. but not as amazing as the home.
So we have a $10,000 lower balance in our 401k in 15 years, and we have a $194,000 higher home value. Which side of the equation do you want to be on for net worth?
I take 200,
right?
maybe.
Yes, right. So
I like this episode. This one makes me happy.
well, yeah, these are the numbers. These are the. Sometimes we have to. We're all in a hurry, right? In most aspects of our lives, we have to slow down, and we really have to do this math, and we really have to ask ourselves, what do we want our life to look like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And if that includes owning a home and having a backyard and being in a neighborhood and having hiking and biking trails nearby, whatever it is, room for your pets. We've seen a lot of scenarios lately with multi-generational living situations.
There's some neat new stuff coming down with ADUs in the backyard.
Yes. Yeah. Husband and wife buying a home, they have kids, and now dad's going to move in with them or mom's going to move in with them. So these multi-generational floor plans and houses are really becoming more popular. I'm closing on one today, and that's why they're buying the house, because her dad, because her dad is moving in with her, with them.
I love that.
And so, so forecast that out. It's challenging to know what 5 years is going to bring, what 10 years is going to bring. But if you really sit down and kind of pull back, if you've got kids right now that are ages 3 and 5, it could be a 15-year house for you, because that 3-year-old's going to be 18, right? Does that house serve your needs for the next 15 years?
Yeah.
If you've got kids that are 15 and 17, you're probably looking for a different type of floor plan, because they're out of the house in 3 years. Well, maybe they're out of the house, maybe they're not out of the house, but presuming they're out of the house, right?
Yeah.
At least working, maybe not college, but doing something. And so that need is different for every family. And this scenario may not work for everybody, of course. And not everybody has $30,000 or more in their 401k, so we get it. This same scenario would work with a gift from mom or dad. It would work from maybe borrowing from another asset that you have. And so I think what we're really doing to land this plane is, what is the cost of waiting? What is the cost of waiting buying a home? And we know that interest rates are where they are. They kind of have been for about 3 years. Like, they just haven't moved that much. And let me tell you guys, this might be the new floor. It might be the new ceiling and the new floor for a while. We don't really know. I believe rates will come down as the year progresses. I do, wholeheartedly. And I hope I'm proved right. And if I'm not, I will say it. I was wrong. But I really do see some gradual improvement in rates. What is that going to do? We talk about that's going to increase demand. It's going to also increase appreciation. You want rates to come down if you're already a homeowner, because that's going to increase demand and appreciation. You want rates to come down if you're a future home buyer on one hand, but you're going to be in more competition when that happens.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting debate.
Yes, it is. And on this piece of this podcast, we have many other episodes. This will be episode 71.
71.
We got a lot of good info out there. So if this is your first video and you're like, man, these guys are smart, they're throwing out numbers, they are convincing me it's worth it to buy. We have a lot of other podcast episodes out there. Love for you to check them out. Please also comment, like, subscribe, share, because we want this to get out there. This is the good information that you're not hearing from other sources. The media is more doom and gloom. The media is more scary about what's going on. The media says you have to make all this money to own a home, or you have to have all this money saved up to own a home. You need to talk to a loan specialist. And that's what people do full time. And this is why we make this content.
That's right.
So
we're honored that you're with us and listening in. And please, like Jeff said, please share this with someone close to you that you feel may want to hear this information. And just know that we say this all the time, but there's just so many different scenarios that it just pays to have the conversation. So we welcome that opportunity and look forward to it.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. You have a great day.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye.